Good morning. The 2025 Copyright and Neighboring Rights Amendment Bill is the talk that closed yesterday, and now it awaits the presidential assent as it was passed yesterday afternoon. Now we shall delve deeper into this conversation a little later on the show, but for now, good morning. This is Good Morning Uganda on UBC TV. You can watch us right from your TV set, but you can also watch us live online from YouTube and follow the conversation. My name is Julie F. Nantaba with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono and Joan Murunje. Joan, good morning.
Good morning, Uganda. I hope you're very good, especially the Arsenal fans.
Definitely so.
You look at the Arsenal fans here, as if they have some money in their pockets. How much? But Arsenal fans, good morning. And should we also say good morning to the Morocco fans or Senegal? Or we leave that to Ruben?
It's a bit disheartening. Because it's also disheartening for Africa as a continent. 2 months later, to change the win of the champion for the African Cup of Nations tournament after Senegalese celebrated
even the entire Africa,
you know, the entire Africa, and then 2 months later, 2 months.
You're like, please.
That's why sometimes when the white school as monkeys, I don't think.
I think it's why Africa.
John, what are you looking at this morning?
I'm looking at the remarks of the Auditor General, Edward Akol, who warned that chronic kidney disease is a growing public health challenge in Uganda and demands sustained resource and intensive care, with Chirudo being the designated Chirudo Hospital being the designated hospital as the main provider of the dialysis services in Uganda. But he also noted that while dialysis may appear to be a cheaper option, but it has a long-term financial constraint to the Ugandans and the government. For your information, the initial cost at dialysis is between 700,000 to 1 million for the first session. But a transplant goes for 80 million Ugandan shillings to 100 million one time. Now prompting the legislators to question whether patients should go for dialysis or to go for a kidney transplant, because although dialysis offers immediate relief for patients with kidney failure, the above comparison was that it is a recurring issue. And you know, for dialysis, depending on how worse your situation is, you remember the late Evelyn Nagu? She had a problem with the kidney, and that is what she succumbed to. She used to go for dialysis at Chirodo, and you're supposed to do it for like 2 to 3 weeks, depending on how bad your situation is. So if you're paying over 500,000 or 700,000 3 times a week, how will you be able to sustain that in the long run?
Right, that's a lot. Very dire for Uganda's health affordability at that. Robert, once again, good morning.
A lovely morning to you, Julie.
Are you well? I know you're well. I can't even. Yeah, I know you're well. After Arsenal's win.
I was going to tell you why ask the obvious.
I know. But what are you looking at this morning?
What I'm looking at this morning is a bit of excitement as people in the media.
Okay.
But also the fact that I've seen some people go to jail over this Computer Misuse Act. And I felt that maybe sometimes some people are just not using it the right way. Now, yesterday, the Ugandan Constitutional Court declared several provisions of the Computer Misuse Act as null and void. One, pointing at 2 issues: that the Computer Misuse Act violated fundamental human rights, as in our 1995 Constitution, the amended one, but also referring to procedural issues, that when this act was being passed, there was not enough quorum in Parliament. But they passed the act.
Okay.
And of course, the law is very clear, you must have quorum. Now, some of these provisions include Article 11, 23, 26, 27, 29, 162, and 163. Now, I saw many Ugandans jubilating Most of those, you call them bloggers,
Yeah, content
TikTokers, content creators. Some rejoicing because indeed many of them are fallen prey to this.
Okay.
Now they were jubilating that finally we have this out, and these provisions were seen to be oppressing to many of such people.
But I think their joy is going to be outlived because it's just a matter of bringing back this to Parliament, and when there is enough quorum, it will be still assented to by the President.
Remember, there are provisions.
They can still be amended.
Maybe when they are amended, but also it will depend the interest that is in. Some of these go and go, unless there is special interests. But with internet and social media, still we need regulations. But that's to say that it is not that now you can go on and do anything you want. There are still other laws that can get you on.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not a free thing that you just go and utter anything. But now I want to know those that were imprisoned under this, what is their fate? Or those that are still on trial.
Right. The pressure.
What is his fate? Is it because now it has been declared? Is he going to walk scot-free, be brought and over?
I think we should tell from the courts of law.
I know, right? Very interesting one. Now, at the start of this conversation, or whatever we're starting with at the start of the show, we did talk about the CAF, appealing and reversing the result of the African Cup of Nations tournament result. And just to add a little bit of context for you in case you're wondering what exactly happened, well, the CAF Appeal Board decided that in application of Article 84 of the regulations of the CAF Africa Cup of Nations, the Senegal national team is declared to have forfeited the final match of the Total Energies CAF Africa Cup of Nations, Morocco 2025, with the result of the match being recorded as 3-0 in favor of Federation Royale Moroccan de Football.
You know, when you start talking about suddenly it started to rain. And
interesting one.
That judgment is for those that want to understand it. But for us that watched soccer and saw goals being scored,
and chaos,
for us we know who won. These guys returned, got their goal.
Yes, we do know. We do know.
Now you're telling us about your regulations and all that.
The challenge, though, is if it's not on record, if it's not on record, what will the future generations know? We might as well die with our stories, and they'll just know what's on record.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see what the international analysts in sports will have. The likes of Ian Wright will have to say about this.
Anyways, at about 22 minutes on to 7 a.m., it has started to rain here in Kampala, CBD. So as you plan to leave home, prepare and leave home safe and sound, as well as warm enough for the weather. Robert, what do we have on the local scene?
Well, I'll begin with the Vice President, Jessica Alupo, who launched the Africa Pastoralist Women Network and Learning Center to advance gender justice, climate resilience, and equitable land governance across Africa. The Continental Network and the Learning Center is on the theme Voices from the Rangelands, African Pastoralist Women Rising for Land Rights, Climate Justice, Equity and Peace. Vice President said female pastoralist women female pastoralists are the backbone of Africa's land range, which sustains livelihoods, protects ecosystems, preserves knowledge and builds peace. But their voices have remained unrepresented in land governance, climate policies and decision-making spaces. Parliament passed the Copyrights and Neighboring Rights Amendment Bill 2025 to enhance the economic freedom of artists. The long-awaited legislation seems a game-changer for artists to benefit from the original creation. If passed into law, the artists and creative makers will redeem royalties from the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. The bill introduced several reforms aimed at improving how artists earn from their content, particularly in the digital era where music and other creative works are increasingly distributed through telecommunications platforms. One of the key provisions of the bill is the introduction of a revenue sharing model for caller ringback tones, a popular service offered by telecommunication operators that allows callers to hear music instead of standing ringing tones when placing calls. Under the proposed amendment, 60% of the revenue generated from caller ringback tones will go to the author and performers, while telecommunication companies will receive 31% and aggregators will receive 8.5%. The Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago raised an alarm over the growing threat of land grabbing targeting public schools in the city, speaking at his last dinner. Drop everything and read. Week along, the Mayor Elias Lukwago urged KCCA to put a spirit of fighting for public school properties. Out of the 2,330 schools in the city, 774 are not yet fully licensed, highlighting systematic challenges in the education sector. He also noted that low transaction rates to Senior 1, with only 39% of the learners progressing, leaving about 60% unable to advance to the next level. And finally, from the local scene, different political party leaders have now joined hands with the National Consultative Forum to initiate decisions and discussions aimed at finding lasting solutions to electoral challenges. The proposed dialogue is expected to focus on concerns such as alleged intimidation, uneven treatment of candidates, and questions surrounding the conduct of officials from the Electoral Commission. This comes amid criticism from various stakeholders who expressed dissatisfaction with how the electoral process was managed. Kiwanda said the initiative is intended to rebuild public trust in the electoral system and promote transparency in line with constitutional and legal provisions. He argued that despite the Electoral Commission fulfilling its mandate, there remains a need for accountability and reforms to ensure all actors uphold their responsibilities. The National Treasury National Unity Platform, Benjamin Katana, said constructive engagement among political leaders will be key in preventing a reoccurrence of challenges witnessed. The National Consultative Forum now hopes that the planned dialogue will provide a platform for consensus building and pave way for more credible elections in the future. Now, with that story on the Consultative Forum, we come to the end of our local stories. Let's see what Joanne has for us.
The next time you don't sound international traveler, I will let you do the international news. You just have to put respect on me while you're talking about global coverage. Swiftly moving on to what is happening around the international scene. It's a bit of dejected reports this early morning and sad news as the Israeli airstrike, which killed Iran's security chief Ali Larijani, has removed one of the Islamic Republic's most experienced and influential policymakers at a critical moment. Now, Larijani was not a military commander, but he was a central figure in shaping Iran's strategic decisions. As Secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, he sat at the heart of decision-making on war, diplomacy, and national security. His voice carried weight across the system, particularly in managing Iran's confrontation with the United States and Israel. After the killing of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei on 28 February, Larijani struck a defiant tone, signaling that Iran was prepared for a long conflict. His death, now confirmed by state media, comes amid a broader campaign in which several senior Iranian officials and commanders have been killed within a matter of weeks. This pattern suggests a sustained effort to weaken Iran's leadership structure during wartime. But despite his hardline stance against the West, Larijani was often described inside Iran as a pragmatist. He combined ideological loyalty with a technocratic approach, favoring calculated strategy over rhetoric. He remained deeply skeptical of engagement with Western powers, but he was also involved in key diplomatic efforts, including acting as an envoy in Iran's long-term cooperation agreement with China. Forging ahead, Argentina has finalized its decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization, following in the footsteps of the United States and formally severing ties with the global health body. Yesterday, Minister of Foreign Affairs Pablo Quirino confirmed Argentina's withdrawal from the international agency, which monitors health trends, tracks disease, promotes healthcare access, and trains medical providers. Today, Argentina's withdrawal from the World Health Organization takes effect, marking 1 year since the formal notification was made by our country. Kiro wrote on his social media post yesterday. Now, the move was first announced in February last year, and a month later, Kiro explained that the government of right-wing President Javier Milei had issued a formal notice to the WHO. Argentina will continue to promote international cooperation in health through bilateral agreements and regional forums, while fully preserving its sovereignty and its capacity to make decisions regarding health policies. Now, in a hard blow report and a bombshell, African football's governing body has stripped Senegal of the Africa Cup of Nations title they won in a chaotic final 2 months ago and declared Morocco the champions. In a stunning decision, the Confederation of African Football said yesterday that its appeal aboard ruled that Senegal is declared to have forfeited the match, a 1-0 victory. The result, it said, was now being officially recorded as 3-0 in favor of host nation Morocco. At the January 18th final in Rabat, Senegal's players walked off the pitch, led by coach Pape Thiaw, in protest against a penalty awarded late in regulation time to Morocco. When play resumed after a delay of about 15 minutes, Morocco forward Brahim Diaz's penalty was saved. In extra time, Pape Gueye scored the decisive goal that saw Senegal become champions of Africa for the second time. The heated final also saw supporters trying to storm the field, players scuffling on the sidelines, reporters from the two countries fighting in media areas, and a bizarre sequence in which Moroccan ball boys tried to seize a towel being used by Senegalese goalkeeper Eduardo Mendy in an apparent bid to distract him and help their team win the continental title. Oh my, okay. Now, this is really a dejected report, and I feel like the Senegalese team was not fairly treated because they must have ignored this other
we
part.
all watched the match.
Yeah.
There was a lot of unfairness that transpired during that match, but the Senegalese fought through, won the trophy, and 2 months later, it's a different result.
And then the ball boys for Morocco trying to distract the Senegalese goalkeeper. Is it something to just bypass?
Well, interesting story.
To me, I know who won, and they won.
But CAF is saying otherwise.
You know, the record matters.
Yeah.
The record matters.
Let me tell you.
That's the truth.
Whatever the record is, for me, I go with a public court.
It's like claiming to be married to someone, and yet you do not have the marriage certificate. So how, in whatever issue that court might need, how will court help when there's no marriage certificate? That's what I would look at it as. It's the lens I would use. But let's have a look at what we have in the dailies this morning. Interesting stories, quite a number of them that should attract you to get yourselves copies. The headline on the New Vision, EC releases 105 billion shillings for election officials. But another story to look into, panic as 4,800 NGOs collapse. And also Kasamba is new Budo head teacher as King's College Budo marks 120 years. A new head teacher on there. And mental health cases rising after elections says Butabika.
Okay.
Interesting one there.
It's not something to laugh at, but
But it was expected. Actually,
Is it that deep?
every
Every after
election,
election.
every after 5 years. I remember one time we went to Butabika, we had gone there, some of the journalists had gone to do, there was one person who had passed in an election. So one journalist tried to take a picture of him and he beat his finger almost to remove it.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Anyways, a quick look at the
So they're
Daily
always
Monitor.
there.
okay.
The Daily Monitor has freedom of speech wins. That's the headline. The Daily Monitor. And the Lizard has something to say about it. At least on paper, says the Lizard. Well, the other story, a sad one at that to look into from the Daily Monitor. Police probe death of a girl after USCE results release. Heard of a Mengo student who passed immediately after.
Who passed away,
Due to suicide, apparently.
Okay.
Police is probing into that. But the other story to chew on from the Daily Monitor, from guarding London buildings to becoming a real estate mogul. Interesting, a story to inspire you on that. But a quick look at what the rest of East Africa has, starting with the Citizen. Why leaders still invoke JPM's leadership values. 5 years after the death of President John Magufuli, Tanzanian leaders continue to invoke his leadership style, values and philosophy as a reference point in governance, public service and national development. Also, is that boda insured? Hauki rule is ignored. Looking at the Daily Nation, from Kenya, gloves are off. Fight back, critics accuse president of misrule, but he argues it is an unfair assessment. Also, Winnie backed for Oburu's deputy post, and more of the stories from the Daily Nation. If you get yourself a copy, and all the copies that we've just perused through for you to be able to get deep into the stories. This brings us to the end of this particular one. Let's go for a short break. We'll be right back, and of course we'll be talking about the 2025 Copyright and Neighboring Amendment Bill that was passed yesterday. Good morning. Just make sure that you save the number 0709 602 592. Let's have a short break. We'll be back.
Live from UPC.
And even retains livelihoods network and learning center to advance gender justice, climate resilience and equitable land governance across Africa. The Continental Network and the Learning Center is on the theme Voices from the Rangelands, African pastoralist women rising for land rights, climate justice, equity and peace. Vice President said female pastoralist women, the Vice President said female pastoralists are the backbone of Africa's land range, which sustains livelihoods, protects ecosystems, preserves knowledge and builds peace. But their voices have remained unrepresented in land governance, climate policies and decision-making spaces. Parliament passed the Copyright and Neighboring Rights Amendment Bill 2025 to enhance the economic freedom of artists. The long-awaited legislation seems a game changer for artists to benefit from the original creation. If passed into law, the artists and creative makers will redeem royalties from the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. The bill introduced several reforms aimed at improving how artists earn from their content, particularly in the digital era where music and other creative works are increasingly distributed through telecommunications platforms. One of the key provisions of the bill is the introduction of a revenue-sharing model for caller ringback tones, a popular service offered by telecommunication operators that allows callers to hear music instead of standing ringing tones when placing calls. Under the proposed amendment, 60% of the revenue generated from caller ringback tones will go to the author and performers, while telecommunication companies will receive 31% and aggregators will receive 8.5%. The Lord Mayor Elias Lukwago raised an alarm over the growing threat of land grabbing targeting public schools in the city. Speaking at his last dinner, "Drop everything and read" week along, the mayor Elias Lukwago urged KCCA to put a spirit of fighting for public school properties. Out of the 2,330 schools in the city, 774 are not yet fully licensed, highlighting systematic challenges in the education sector. He also noted that low transaction rates to Senior 1, with only 39% of the learners progressing, leaving about 60% unable to advance to the next level. And finally, from the local scene, different political party leaders have now joined hands with the national criticism from various stakeholders who expressed dissatisfaction with how the electoral process was managed. Kiwanda said the initiative is intended to